Hello everyone, today we're learning about Mציעא Daf Chof. We're going to start on New Testament base, 5 lines up. Tanu Rabbanon, Moto Shoiva Bizman Sheish Moida Yachzi Laba. Eine Ish Moida Lo Yachzi Lo Leze Velo Leze. So the Brisa says, if someone found a Shoiva, it's a receipt, that it says in it that the woman got paid her ksuva from her husband. So if the woman admits that she got paid the ksuva and the receipt is a valid receipt, you should give it back to the husband. If she doesn't admit, you should not give it back, not to the husband and not to the wife. Said the Gemara, in the case where the woman admits, you should give it back to the husband. Why is so? Why we not choishes? She wrote this shoiva with the date of Aleph Nisan. But she only got paid the ksuva on Tishri, and only then she gave this shoiva. But also and in between that time, from Nisan and Tishri, she sold the rights on a ksuva to someone else. B'toiva sano means not for the full value, because if she dies, he won't get anything. And now you're going to give back the receipt to the husband that it says that he paid off on Nisan, even though they paid only in Tishrei. Now really, who should be getting this ksuva? This loikeach who bought off the woman, because when she bought after Nisan before Tishrei, the ksuva wasn't paid yet. So on Tishrei, the ksuva should have been paid to this loikeach, not to the woman. So now you're going to take away this field that was designated for the ksuba, you're going to take away from the lekech, and it's not kadin. So what that the woman admits, but maybe they're doing a deal, the woman and the husband, and against his lekuchos. Why are we not choishish for that? So the Gemara, Omar Rava, Shmami no Isel is Shmuel. From here we could see it's a riot to the din of Shmuel. That what did Shmuel said? Omar Shmuel, Amoicher shtar choiv lechaveroi. Reuven owes Shimon 200 pounds. And Shimon has a document, and he says to Levi, I'll sell you the rights of these 200 pounds from Reuven to you, Levi. And Levi bought it. And now, after he sold it to Levi, because of a mochloy, and now Shimon, who's owed the money originally, was moichel it to Reuven, so now Reuven doesn't have to pay. Levi, says the Shmuel, the din is mochel, even though that the choiv now belongs to Levi, since the original choiv is to Shimon, and Reuven is a chiyuv is to Shimon, very good that Shimon sold it to Levi, Shimon still has the ability to be moichel on this choiv. Vafilu Yorish moichel, even if the Yorish of Shimon who sold it to Levi was moichel it to Reuven, it's chal, and therefore Reuven doesn't have to pay this choiv. So says Rava, also in our case, we could see that this case is true, that since the Isha, what was the chashash? The woman wrote the receipt on Nisan, but she only got paid the ksuva in Tishrei, and in that time she sold the ksuva. If she was moichel to the Baal, if he's the din of Shmuel, even after she sold the ksuva to someone else, she could be moichel it. So when she says give the receipt to the Baal, that means she's moichel on it, and therefore we could see Shmuel's din that a moichel shtar choiv lechaveroi b'chozer mochloi mochel, and that's why there's nothing to be choishesh for. So the Churu even have a raya to Shmuel's din. Abaye Omar, no. Afilu teimeleisi de Shmuel. We could say really that the din of Shmuel is not correct. And if someone sells a choiv, if Shimon sells Levi a choiv that Reuven owes to him, once Levi owns it, Shimon can't be moichel. And ochav b'mayaskinan b'sheshtar ksuva yoytze mitachas yoda. What did you say the whole chashash is that maybe the woman in that between Nisan and Tishri sold the ksuva to someone else? If she would sell the ksuva to someone else, she'd have to give him the actual physical shtar ksuva. But here, when the woman is saying that the husband paid me my ksuba, the ksuba is in her hands. So since the ksuba is in her hands, there's nothing to be choishesh for that she sold it, because if she'd sell it, the ksuba wouldn't be in her hands. So therefore, there's no right to Shmuel, and it could be we don't hold of Shmuel, says Abaye. If it's talking about because the woman has a shtar ksuba, maybe there was two ksuvas. Maybe the husband wrote a ksuba to the woman, and then she lost it. And then he wrote another ksuva, and then she found the first ksuva, she has two ksuvas, and really between Nisan and Tishri, she sold it off to someone else. She gave him the ksuva, but really she has another ksuva. So now she's coming with the other ksuva. It looks like she never sold it, but really she did sell it. and she gave the loikech the other ksuva, and therefore, if we're going to give back the shoiva, this loikech is going to lose. So therefore, you can't learn like Abaye. So the Gemara of Abaye, Omar Choda, first of all, we're not choishesh that a person has two ksuvas also, and therefore one's by the lokech and one's by her. And therefore, if she has a ksuva, we take on she never sold it. If they even, since the receipt it says Nisan, even if he only paid the ksuva in Tishrei, it's as if he paid it to Nisan. Why is that? That because the Eidim in the Shtar written in Nisan, even that the transaction of paying off only happened in Tishrei, we say that the Chasimas Eidim make a Chaled Mafreh from Nisan. So even if she sold it afterwards to someone else between Nisan and Tishrei, and she only got paid off from the husband on Tishrei, since in the Shtar it says Nisan, and it's chal already from Nisan, and therefore the mechirat the loikach is nothing, and therefore we know mafsid the loikach anything. So we have two pshatim how to understand this brisa. One way is that there's no reason for chashash because the din of Shmuel, because if she's moichelet even after she sold it, it's chal. And if you buy it, it's tuma where she's coming to us with a ksuva in her hand, so that takes us to understand that she never sold a ksuva. Says the Mishnah Daf Hayomi Aleph, Motza igri shum. So Rashi explains what means Igri Shum. It means that Bezdin estimated a field of the loiva to give it to the malve for the loan that he gave him and he didn't have money to pay, so they said, okay, take this field instead. And Igri Smozin is someone that took on himself to pay the daughter of his wife. That means not his daughter, his wife came with she was married, she had a kid, she got divorced, and now he married her, and he took on himself responsibility to support this daughter of his. Shtar chalitza, shtar that said that Reuven did chalitza to Leo, miyun is when a ktano gets married, no, but by her older brothers or her mother, so she could just walk out without a get. She could say, I don't want this guy, and walk out. So you write a shtar saying that she walked out, and then she could get married to someone else. The story bearing that we're going to see in the Gemara what that means. We call Ma'aseh Bezdin, like we learned early on in this parak. Though we said it's story adrachta, and I think in Tezayin we saw it. So any of these cases, so Aryeh Yachzeh, there's nothing to be choishish for, and you should give it back. Because Rashi explains, there's no chashash, maybe he never did the transaction, he never did the chalitza, he just was planning to do it, etc. It's because it's Bezdin wouldn't write it, if not that they knew that it actually happened. And we know choishesh lepiron, because it's not shaykh piron in it, like we said on Daf Tezayin Amud Beis. Motza b'chafisa, someone found shtoris in a box. We're going to see exactly what it is in the Gemara. Or bedeluxma, it's a different type of box we're going to see in the Gemara. Or he found a tachrish shtoris. That's shtoris are bound one to each other. Or a gudish shtoris, a bundle of shtoris. We're going to see exactly the difference on Amud Beis. Because there's a siman, the aguda, the tachrich, or the box that's inside. So we have a siman, so therefore you can give it back to the one who has a siman. Bekama aguda shtoris, how much is aguda of shtoris? Shloisha kshurim, there are 3 shtoris that tied one to each other. If you found 3 shtoris that it says in it that the loiva is the same loiva, it says Shimon gave money as a loan to Reuven, and Levi gave money to Reuven as a loan, and Yehuda gave money to Reuven as a loan, and you found these 3 shtoris that says in all the shtoris that Reuven owes all these 3 people money. So the din is yachzil loiva. You give it back to the loiva, because if the loiva never paid them back yet, it would all be, one would be by Shimon, one by Levi, and one by Yehuda. Why are they all together? It must be Reuven paid off already all these shtoris. Shloisha lovim min echad, there's the opposite case. It says that Reuven lent money to Shimon and to Levi and to Yehuda, and each one in a separate shtar, and now you found these 3 shtaris. So it can't be that they paid off already and each one got his star, because why are they all together? It must be that they never paid off and Reuven lost his shtaris, and therefore Yachzil HaMalva, you should give it back to the Malva, who is the Reuven. Not a star ben shtiroi. So if someone found a star, let's say Levi found a star in his shtaris that says that Reuven owes Shimon money, they know they're mativoy, and he doesn't remember what's the deal with it. Is it maybe did he pay off already? Did he not pay off? Did he pay off half? He doesn't remember. Yeah, we shouldn't give it back to any of them, and it stays by him. Simpoinos are receipts. It's something that cancels. A simpoin means something that cancels, a bittul. So if you find between your shtaris a receipt saying that Reuven paid 50% of his loan to Shimon, so you follow the receipt wherever it says in it, and the Gemara will explain exactly why and what. Says the Gemara, my shtar berurim, we learned in the Mishnah shtar berurim. What did that mean? Says the Gemara, two pshatim. First pshat is ochatir Gemara. Over here they explained in Bovel shtar tanosa that when you come to Bezdin, Reuven and Shimon, and they have an argument, Reuven says this and this happened, Shimon said no, this and this happened. So they write down all what each one tained, that they shouldn't able to go back on their tainus. Then I mean shtar berurim, such a shtar that Bezdin wrote what each one tained. It means that when two people come to Bezdin, they want to do an agreement. So Reuven says, I'm choosing this dayan, and Shimon says, I'm choosing this dayan, and these two dayanim will choose the third dayan, and they'll pass in their fight between them. So if someone found such a shtar that it said that Reuven chose this dayan and Shimon chose this dayan, you should give it back, because there's nothing to be choishish for. This is the Gemara we had early on a few pages ago. So there was a get, the Ashkach Beidin de Ravuna, that was found in the Bezdin Ravuna. The Ave Kosivbe was written inside B'Shiuri Mosa, in the city called Shiuri, the Al Rochis Nara on the river Rochis, and so we want to know if you can use this get or not use this get. Omar Rav Huna Chayshinon, even though that we know that in this town, Rochis Nara, there's no two people with the same name like there's written in the get, but we're still Choyshesh Lishnei Shiuri. Maybe there's another place called Shiuri that we don't know about, and in that Shiuri, maybe there's a different person who's called this name, and therefore maybe this is not the right get that you're giving, and therefore you can't use it. Amalei Rav Chizda told Rabba, Puk ayin, go look in it. In the morning, boy, or in the evening, boy la Rav Huna minoch. Rav Huna is going to ask you what's the deal in this case. Nofak dak vashkach. Rabba went out and he was medayik, and he found the Mishnah that nan kol ma'aseh bezdin arei v'yachzeh. Our Mishnah daf chof amud aleph bo b'mציעא. So we could see that you're not choishesh for shnei shiuri, and we could give it back to the husband, or to the woman, the get. So not like Rav Huna said. Amalei Rav Amram l'Rabba. Rav Amram asked the kasher Rabba, Echi poshit mari sumer mamoina. How could you bring me a raya from the Mishnah Baba Mציעא that's talking about momonistic ashtaris to us that we're talking about get? That's Yisura. It's much more chomer. You can't. Sometimes in momonis you say hefke bezdin hefke, etc. But in Isurim, you can't bring a raya to Issa Gittin Eshes from a case of momonis. Amalei Tarada Mishurman, bold person. Shtar chalitza umyun imtnan. In the Mishnah, it says two of the cases, shtar chalitza umyun. That's exactly Isurim. It's not momonis, and we say Aryeh v'yachzeh. So also a get Aryeh v'yachzeh. Poka arza de beirav. The main beam in the Beis Medrash of Rav broke. Mar Omar Mishum Nasoi Didi Poka. Mar Omar Mishum Nasoi Didi Poka. So Rabba said, you know why this happened? Because you, Rav Amram, asked on me a kasha. And Rav Amram said, you know why this happened? Because you called me Tarada, you called me a bold man. You didn't respect me, that's why it happened. And the Chorah of Rav Amram, we can understand very well why he said it happened because of him, because Rabba the Chorah mistreated him. He called him no nice name. But the Rabba, what was he upset about Rav Amram? Rav Amram asked him a kasha. Maybe it wasn't a very good kasha, but he tried asking a kasha. He didn't mean anything bad. So it's been interesting why Rabba thought that the beam of the Beis Medrash broke because of him. It says in the Mishnah, Motzo b'chafisa b'duluskuma. My chafisa, what does a chafisa mean? Omar Rabba barav chana chamas ktano. a small like pouch that they put wine inside, and you found shtoris inside. It's like a bottle of wine that's made out of leather. My dluskma, what does dluskma mean? Omar Rabba Bar Shmuel, talika de saba, a small bag that old people go with, but they're scared they're going to lose their items, so they always have this small like man's bag with them. So you found shtoris in there, and this actual chafisa or dluskma have a siman, so therefore the one who gives the siman, you give it to him back. Tachusha stories, or Gudisha stories, Tonar Rabbanon, Kamo Tachusha stories. How much is considered Tachusha stories? They have to give it back. Shloisha Kruchim Zebezeh, 3 binded one to each other. The Kama Yagudisha stories, what's a bundle of stories? Shloisha Kruchim Zebezeh, 3 that tied one to each other. So the Gemara, Shmas Mino Kesher Simin, from that you say that Gudisha stories, it means that they tie together. So what is a simin that you say that you should give it back? The way it's tied, so we could be poishet our shaila that we had elsewhere. The way you tied something, is that considered a siman or not? So we could see over here, we say because it's tied together, it's a siman. So we could see a knot is a siman. So the Gemara, Tony Rab Chia explains shloisha kruchim zeh that when aguda means that they bundle together, not tied together. So the Gemara, Yochi Aini Tachrich, what's the difference between Tachrich and aguda? Tachrich that they bundle, l'chor aguda is tied. What's the difference? So the Gemara, Tachrich kol chad v'chad b'rosh dechavrei. Aguda deromi adode v'kruchos. Really, they both bundled. The difference is the way you bundled it. Did you put each one at the edge of the other one and bundled it, or did you put them one on top of each other and bundled it? So that's the difference between Tachrich and Aguda, but they both mean bundled, and the simin is the way you did it, and therefore there's no raya that a kesher is a simin. My machruz, when the person is machruz, what does he announce? Says the Gemara, minyan. He says, I found 3, and this guy comes and says the way it was put together. So the Gemara, if so, if you say I found 3, and the other guy just says a siman the way they were tied, so why, if you found 2 together, why is that no siman? Why only 3 is a siman? Like Ravina said later on Chofei about something else, about coins, that his machris coins. So also here, all he says, I found shtoris, and the person who lost it comes and says how many they were, and the way they were bundled. He also has to say both information, how many they were and the way they were bundled. And therefore, if it's only 2, obviously shtoris means 2, so everyone's going to know it's 2, and therefore you don't have to be machris for 2, and it's no siman. Rab Shimon Gamliel Loima Echod Aloiva Mishloisha Yachzil Aloiva. If you think it belongs, again, in the case where Reuven owes money to Shimon and to Levi and to Yehuda, and he found all these 3 stores together, so the Gemara, if you think Reuven never paid off, and it belongs to Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda, and Reuven still owes the money, my boy Gabe Adodi, while they're doing these stores together, one should be by Shimon, one should be by Levi, one by Yehuda. Why are they all together? You found them. So therefore, it must be belongs to Reuven, and Reuven paid off the choiv. As a Gemara, maybe really they never paid off, and the reason why they're all together is because they went to the soifa to Mimikayim to say that he's a good shtoris, and it fell over there. Said the Gemara, no, it can't be so, because the Mikaimi, it's already Mikuyim, it has already a handpick in it, so we could see that has happened already. So it can't be that they were on the way to go to the soifa. Said the Gemara, Dilma Mielde de Safra Nofil. Maybe the guy was Mikaim it, and he lost it, and therefore they're all together, but really Reuven never paid off his choiv yet. So the Gemara, Loimashi Inchi Kiyuma Biode Safra, once a soifa, right, that this is a good star, people, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda wouldn't leave it by him enough time that he should lose it. It's straight away collected from him, and therefore there's no such a chashash. It must be that Reuven paid off his choivis, and then Shimon and Levi and Yehuda gave him back the shtoris, and Reuven lost it, and that's why we give it back to Reuven. It says the opposite case that we learned in the Mishnah Shloisha Shelavu Me'echod Yachzel Amalda. Reuven gave money to Shimon, gave money to Levi, gave money to Yehuda, and he found these three stores. So obviously we said it belongs to Reuven. Says the Gemara, why? Like we said, if you think it belongs to Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda, and they paid off already, my boy, Gabi Adodi, why? How could you find them all together? You'd find, if one of them would lost it, you'd find Shimon's or Levi's or Yehuda's. Why are you finding all three together? It must be that they never paid off yet, and Reuven, the Malva, lost them. Says the Gemara, maybe they all went to write it by the sofa, and they got lost. So the Gemara, you could recognize that the Ktav is three different sofrim, so it can't be they fell from the sofa, and that's why they were together. So the Gemara, maybe they went to be Mikayim the star, the Levi went to be Mikayim the star, and that the Gemara answers the Pashto Teretz, Milva Mikayim the star, Levi lo Mikayim the star. Who needs to be Mikayim the star? The Malva, to say that this is a good star, that he owes the money. So if it fell when he went to Mikayim the star, who went to Mikayim the star? The Malva. And that's why you give it back to the Malva. The Levi wouldn't bother to be Mikayim it. What benefit does he have to make the star even a better star? So we understand very good Reb Shimon Gamliel. Omar Virmi Baraba Omar Rav. Simpoin ayoytze mitachas yodei malve. If we find a star, Reuven gave money to Shimon, a loan of £1,000, and now Reuven has a star that it says that he got paid off Shimon, a receipt basically saying that he got paid off Shimon £1,000. Afal pishich kosu b'chsav yodoi, even though that this simpoin is written with the handwriting of the Malva of Reuven, Einoi elo kemesachek, it doesn't have any value because it's in the hands of Reuven the Malva, Uposel, and doesn't have any value. So now the Gemara explains, not only if it would be written in the Soifa's handwriting, you could say, Safar Isra'milei, Reuven is owed money by Shimon £1,000, and he meets a Soifa. So he tells him, can you write me a receipt that when Shimon will have the money to pay me, I'll have straight a receipt to give him, and he won't say, oh, I'm keeping the money until you give me a receipt. So that's why he wrote the shtar early. Even if this receipt is written in the handwriting of the Malva. Possible. So over there you could say, why did Reuven write this receipt? It must be Shimon gave him the money, because it can't be he had it prepared for later. Because if he knows how to write by himself, when later happens, when Shimon's coming to pay, he'll write him straight away a shtar. It's possible. Why? Reuven for Dimmer Misrami v'Osi ben Hashmoshes, maybe Erev Shabbos. Shimon's going to come to me to pay off the Koporali, and he wants to pay me. If I won't give him a receipt, he'll say, okay, let's wait till after Shabbos, and after Shabbos, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe I'll never see this money. That's why I'll write already now to have a receipt ready. That when he has money, I'll give him straight away. And therefore, Reuven's believed to say that Shimon never paid me off, and the reason why I have a shoiva in my hand in my house was because I had it ready to give it to him if he'd pay me off, but actually he never paid, and therefore we don't go after what's in the sin point. Now we learned in our Mishnah, if you should follow the sin point, it's a stira, it's a kasha on the din of Rav Irmiyah and the name of Rav. Said the Gemara Teret, Kida Omar Safra, like Rav Safra says later on in the page, on a different kasha, Shinimtza ben Shterois of Krui. Ochenami, Shinimtza ben Shterois of Krui. It's talking about where this sin point is found in between his torn shtoris. And Rashi explains two pshatim. I'm going to go over the second pshat in Rashi. That means he found it between the shtoris that he's not using, the torn shtoris already. So, therefore, because in the Mishnah it's talking about where this guy found a shoiva, and it's not a shoiva of that he got paid off. It's a shoiva that it says that Reuven paid Shimon the loan of £1,000. So now And he found it. Where did he find it? He found it in the documents they doesn't need already. He has 2 filing cabinets, one with the documents that are still needed, and one for the old stuff. So he found in the old stuff. So the if it would be that the Malva gave it to him, and he said, when the loive pays me, we should give it to him, but the loive never paid, he'd put this document in the good documents. Why are they in the pile of the old documents I doesn't need anymore? It must be the loive paid off already, and the loive trusted him with the shoiva, and he said, keep it, and that's why he put it with the documents he doesn't need, and that's why he followed the sim point. But in the case where the Malva has the sim point, he could say, no, I wrote it, but I never gave it because he never paid me off, and that's the chilik between the two. Toshma, we have another kasha, le'echod, ben shtorosav. Someone found in his documents a shtoris. It said, shtoris shel Yosef ben Shimon. Perua, Yosef ben Shimon paid off shtoris shneim prim. So the case is, Reuven is owed by 2 Yosef ben Shimon money, and he found a receipt saying that Yosef ben Shimon paid off, and he doesn't know which one it is. Did Yosef ben Shimon A pay him off, or Yosef ben Shimon B paid him off? So you can't be goive from anyone, because each one could know I paid off, and therefore they don't need to pay. So we could see, even though they find the sim point biad amal, but we go after the sim point, not like what Rav said. So the Gemara, the same teret, Ked Omar or Safra, Shenimtza ben Shtorosav Kruim. Ochenami Shenimtza ben Shtorosav Kruim. Over here, where it says that you go after the sim point and you can't be to any Yosef ben Shimon, where he found it in the document they doesn't need, it must be that Yosef ben Shimon really paid off. Because if Yosef ben Shimon didn't pay off yet, he'd keep the shtar in a place where it's handy for the shtar they still need in the future to give it to Yosef ben Shimon. Elamai, it must be that Yosef ben Shimon paid off already, and therefore you can't be to any of Yosef ben Shimon's. Toshma, Shvuah Sheloi Pikadnu Abba, it says by Yisoimim who want to claim money, it says you have to make a Shvuah Sheloi Pikadnu Abba, that our father never told us to be moichel this choiv, or any tzivui about this money, v'sheloi omar lanu Abba, v'sheloi motzonu ben shiroshev shel Abba sheshtar ze perua. So these Yisoimim are coming to claim, so they have to make a shvur that the father never told them that maybe he's moichel this choiv, or maybe he's giving over this choiv, or they make a shvur that they never found a document of a receipt in their father's documents. It's mashma. If they would find a document saying a receipt that his father got paid, so they couldn't be going with the choiv. Why not? It's biad amalve. Rav Yirmiyah said in the name of Rav that the sim point biad amalve is nothing. So even if they found a document or receipt in the father, it should be in the loive's hands, not in the malve's hands. Why are we saying that in such a case they don't get paid? So the Gemara, Omar Rav Safra here, Rav Safra said this chiddush, we used it twice to do different kashas. This is talking about they make a shvuah shenimtza ben sh'rosav kruim. Now we never found a receipt in the document that our father doesn't need, because if we would, then we'd have to trust it. Because why is it over there? It must be the guy paid off already. Because if he didn't pay off, he'd keep it in the shtoras he still needs in the future, and therefore there's no kasha from this brisa on the din of Rav. Toshma simpun sheyesh olav eidim iskayev b'choismov. If you find a receipt and it says on it, Eidim, Iskayim b'choismov, and the Gemara understand what does it mean Iskayim b'choismov. You ask the Eidim if they wrote on it, and if they wrote on it, we take on that the receipt is a valid receipt. But maybe they wrote this receipt, but they never paid. They just wrote it for the malva to have it ready to give it to the loiva when he does pay. The it's a kasha on Rav said that the sim point is nothing, biad malva. So the Gemara, it doesn't mean we ask them if they signed on it. No, we will be mikayim it from the choismov. What does that mean? The shailina le'ulasade will ask the Eidim, chof aleph umud aleph, did he pay off or did he not pay off? And if the Eidim say we saw him paying off, then we say it's a good sim point and therefore it's a good receipt. But if the Eidim didn't see paying off the choiv, just that they signed on it, and ochenami, the sim point is nothing, like what Rav said. Toshma, sim point sheyesh olav eidim kosher. It says a sim point that has eidim, it's kosher. And we said that a sim point, if it's in biad malve, it's nothing. What's pshat? So the Gemara, my eidim kiyum. It doesn't mean that eidim signed in it. It means eidim kiyum that it has a handpick. Handpick means that the Bezdin said that this is a good shtar, and Bezdin wouldn't say this is a good shtar. Elamai, if we know that the loive paid off. So that's what it means over here, Eidim, not that it's just Stam Eidim was signed in it. It means that Eidim actually is handpicked, and that means the Bezdin check that it's a good start. Och inami mistabra, bring your Aryeh, midikton is safer for she'ino love Eidim posel. Tell the safe of this brisa. If it doesn't have Eidim, it's possible. My anal of Eidim. What does that mean? Eidim klal, that there's no Eidim whatsoever written in the star. The apostle. Do we need to tell that it's possible? It has no raya. It's just a receipt that we don't know who wrote it. There's no Eidim to testify that this is a proper star. Elolav Eidiq. We mean that there's no handpick. There's some Eidim in it, but it doesn't mean that it was Mekoim Bebezdin. And therefore, when it means Sheyeshel of Eidim, it means handpick. And that's why we follow the sim point. But normally, if it wouldn't be a handpick, you wouldn't follow the sim point. And therefore, it all fits in with what Rav said. And there's no kasha. Gufa, we learned sim point she'eshol of Eidim is kaim b'choismov einol of Eidim v'yoytzim mitachas idei shlish. And it's by the third person, not by the malva, not by the loive. Oy she'yoytzi lachar chitzim stories, or at the end of the star where it says that Shimon owes Reuven 1,000 pounds. It says at the end of the star that Shimon paid off. Kosher. We follow the same point. The reason why we follow it, if the Malva gave the same point, this receipt to the shlish, to the third person, you obviously trusted the third person. If the third person said that the loiva paid off, so we trust him. If it's written in the star after the signature of the Eidim of the loan, Nami, the Ilav the Poria, if not that the loiva paid off the Malva, loy have a moral story. The Malva would never write a receipt in the star. Was he stupid? Now you'll never able to be going with the star. So if it's written inside, it must be that the loiva actually paid off. Hadron aloch shnayim oichzim. We're going to come back to you, Be'ez Hashem, shnayim oichzim, and learn you again and again and again. Baruch Hashem, Mazel Tov, we finished Perek Shnai Moichzim, and Be'ez Hashem will continue with Eile Metzias. Thank you very much.